The Portrait of a Lady, written by Khushwantsingh. Once Vivekananda said, "If I love myself despite my infinite faults, how can I hate anyone at the glimpse of a few faults?" In the light of this statement, we can advance towards learning and understanding this chapter in a very grand style. The priorities of our learning will be about the author, the chapter sketch, including characters, summary of the chapter, new words, message of the chapter, and an important question and answers from the board examinations point of view. Khushwantsingh was an Indian author, lawyer, diplomat, journalist, and politician. His experience in the 1947 partition of India inspired him to write Train to Pakistan in 1956, which became his most well-known novel. He was born on 2nd February 1915 in Hadali, now in Pakistan, and died on 20th March 2014, New Delhi. His wife was Kawal Malik, born in 1939 and lived up to 2001. Portrait of a Lady is part of an autobiography by Khushwantsingh. In this story, the author draws a pen portrait of his grandmother. He beautifully unfolds their relationship and how it undergoes several changes. In other words, the story is a loving tribute from a grandson to his grandmother. The story gives a picture of human relationships. It is a realistic account of how the grandparents give all their time, attention, and love to their grandchildren. Characters. Khushwantsing's grandmother is described as an extremely religious person. She was a very kind lady. She was short, fat, and slightly bent. Her face was wrinkled, and she was always dressed in spotless white clothes. In the village, she took care of all the needs of the author when he was a child. Khushwantsingh himself is a character in this story. He recounts his childhood days and his relationship with his grandmother. The chapter proceeds with the expressions given at the very outset to be come across the chapter. The thought was almost revolting, an expanse of pure white serenity, a turning point, accepted her seclusion with resignation, a veritable bedlam of chirrupings, frivolous rebukes, the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum. First paragraph of this story starts, you can all see the page number 3 of the book. My grandmother, like any grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had a husband, but that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wrote, he wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child that seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. The starting paragraph of this chapter gives us the account of the author remembering his grandmother and grandfather. Now the main highlights of the chapter, if we want to see here, will be like, when the author Khushwantsingh was a little child, his parents left him in the village with his grandmother and went to live in the city. The author's grandmother was an old lady. She was very religious. The author shared a very loose bond with his grandmother. They became very good friends. The grandmother woke him up, dressed him, and accompanied him to school. The school was attached to the temple. While the author was at school, the grandmother used to read the scriptures in the temple. When the author's parents were well settled, he and his grandmother also went to the city. It proved a turning point in their friendship. In the city, Khushwantsingh attended an English school and traveled in a motor bus. He learnt English words and topics of Western science. The grandmother could no longer accompany him to his school nor help him in his studies. However, they shared the same room. When the author went to the university, he was given a separate room. Thus, the last link of their friendship was broken. The grandmother kept herself busy in her prayers and spinning the wheel. Her favorite part of the day was feeding the sparrows. When the author went abroad for higher studies, the grandmother came to see him off at the station, but she showed no emotions and was not even sentimental. The author came back after the good amount of, you can say, spending time, that is 5 years, and was received by his grandmother at the station. He was unchanged and did not look a day older. In the evening, the grandmother did not pray and instead collected the women of the neighborhood and celebrated her grandson's homecoming. Grandmother fell ill the next day and she knew that her end was near. She stopped talking and closed her eyes. She was lost in her prayers and counting the beads of her rosary. Suddenly, the rosary fell down and her lips stopped moving. She was dead. Thousands of sparrows stumbled in the room. Thousands of sparrows assembled in the room and sat quietly to mourn her death. They did not even eat the crumbs given by the author's mother. After the grandmother's body was taken for cremation, the sparrows flew away silently. So, this is how we could summarize and visualize our chapter, The Portrait of a Lady. The words which are new for the readers while going through the chapter are portrait means true picture, mantelpiece means shelf above a fireplace, absurd means ridiculous, hobbled means walked with difficulty, stoop means bent body due to old age. Serenity means calm and peaceful. Bedlam means confusion. Dilapidated means falling to pieces. Scattered means lying here and there. Took no notice of means did not care. In addition to this, few more new words might be there for you. You can deal with those words yourself with the help of a good English to English dictionary. Now let us discuss at the last the important question and answer of this chapter. You may take out page number 6 and 7, understanding the text. There are two questions very important from your examination point of view. The first one is 3 reasons why the author's grandmother was disturbed when he started going to the city school. You well know the answer by now. Answer of this question is very simple. First, she could not go with him to leave him to school as he went in the school bus. This broke her connection with the author and disturbed her. Second, in the English school, she could not help him with his lessons in English and science because she neither knew English nor science. Thus, she had no faith in what was being taught there, and thus she was disturbed. And the third reason was she was unhappy that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures in the school. Instead, music was being taught, which to her had indecent associations. This also disturbed her the most. I hope you understood this answer very well. Now, second important question which I will like you to highlight is fourth question on page number 7 from the same understanding the text section. The odd way in which the author's grandmother behaved just before she died. Describe. And take one more question as very important, that is talking about the text. Third question, would you agree that the author's grandmother was a person strong in character? If yes, give instances that show this. With this, let us conclude this chapter. The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwantsingh. If you found this video useful and helpful for you, let me know through your comments. Also, like, share and subscribe this channel of mine. Thank you, all of you students. Thank you very much.